All right, so today we're doing lesson 1.5, which will actually be our last lesson for unit 1. Okay, now all of this stuff that we're talking about today is stuff that we've seen before because we went over it in pre-algebra. We probably didn't do it a whole lot last year in algebra. We have at least seen it at some point. Okay, so on your paper, those of you in class, you're going to fold it to look like this. Okay, on the dotted lines. After we're done, if you want to cut, you can between the two. Just wait till we're finished because we're going to try to move through this a little bit faster. But I'm going to show you now so you know where to fold. That way you can do that because it'll be hard to see once I start going on the iPad. Okay, so just fold the two ends towards each other. So like when you're looking at the top, all you see are the 4 different angles. Does that make sense? Okay, and then you can go back and cut on those in a minute. Okay, so yours will look just a little bit different than what you're seeing on the screen because your paper is going to be folded, okay? But right now, just fold those 2 lines, and then we'll go back and we'll cut it and glue it in as soon as we're done. Oh my gosh. On the dotted lines. Just fold on the dotted lines. That's all you have to do. No, other way, Bubba. Okay, while you're doing that, just pay attention because we're going to start going over this. Okay, so when we see linear pair of angles, we've kind of already talked about this. They form a what? They form a line, right? Notice that's in the word, linear. And then what do we know about 2 angles that form a line? Am I interrupting you two? Yep, and now that's going to be on the video because you guys couldn't pay attention like I asked you to earlier and stop. Okay. 2 angles form a line, and we know that their measure is equal to what? 180. Good. So we know the total measure is 180 degrees. Okay? All right. Now, I'm going to flip to the other screen. You're going to open up the inside to follow through with me. Okay, so you should be on the side that looks like this. Now, I copied the wrong paper, so you already have the blanks filled in, all right? So what you're going to do is as I fill in the blanks on your paper, I just want you to underline those things, okay? So we know that 2 adjacent angles, that was on your worksheet that we just graded from last week, 2 adjacent angles whose non-common sides form opposite rays. Okay, and we just talked about, we know that they would be equal to 180 degrees. That part you're probably going to have to write in because I don't even think you have that on yours. Okay, so we know 2 linear pairs would be called what? Yes. Okay, now this part we're going to solve together. If it gives me 2 supplementary angles and it asks me to solve for the missing angle, somebody tell me what I would need to do to solve. True. Now while that works, you're not always going to be able to just subtract it. So I'm going to ask you to set up an equation every single time. So what would my equation be here? Good. Yes. Okay. Because not every single time are you just going to be able to subtract, right? We're going to see that on our next one. Okay, all I have to do to solve this, subtract 112 from both sides, and we get x is equal to what? Come on now. 68. Okay. Now, here's the reason why I'm making you set one up each time. All right, example 2 just gives you 2 angles form a linear pair, right? So then we know if they form a linear pair, it has to be what? Supplementary. Okay, one of the angles is 3 times the measure of the other. Find the measure of each angle. Now, can we draw a picture? Sure. Okay, so the first thing it tells us is the measure of one angle is 3 times the measure of the other. Now, do I know what the measure of the other angle is? No, but how can we show 3 times something? 3x. Okay, so the bigger angle is 3 times the other. Well, what does that mean my other angle is equal to? Yes, just x. Okay, now is it possible for me to solve for x here? What would be my equation? Hey, y'all might want to just maybe turn your phones off. Okay. All right. Sorry, that should say 3x plus x. Man, Siri is really doing a number today. Okay. So we add the two angles, set them equal to 180, and then we just solve. What is 3x plus x? 4x. We always add any like terms already on the same side. Okay, and then all I have to do here is what? Divide both sides by 4, and I get x is equal to... Now, is that my answer? No, because they didn't ask me to find x, they asked me to find what? The measure of each angle. So what do I need to do? Yeah, I need to do 3 times 45, which is what? Which is what? 135. And on the other one, all I have to do is plug it in. X is 45. Now, how can I know if those are true? Yeah, add them together and see if they equal 180. They do. So that means we've done it correctly. Yes? You guys remember doing this stuff, correct? Okay. Or it's kind of coming back to us. Oh, Lord. Jordy. Okay. All right. Questions on supplementary? Okay. Let's go to vertical. Can anybody tell me something you know about vertical angles? They do cross. Does anyone know specifically, like if I labeled them 1, 2, 3, and 4? Someone said they're 90-degree angles. That is not true. We don't know that. When's the only time that we would know that? Yes, and they don't here, so we don't know for sure.
All the things are the same.
All 4 angles are the same? Say it again, Sonny. The 1 and 2 are the same, and then 3 and 4 are the same. Okay? So we can say the angles across from each other are the same. So vertical angles, which we're going to talk about on the other side, right? You guys, come on. It's rough today. I don't know what the deal is.
Hey, I didn't get to write that down. Just let it 1, 2, 3, 4 in the circle.
Mm-hmm. Just remember when we run out of time today. Okay. Oh. Heaven forbid. All right. 2 angles whose sides form 2 pairs of opposite rays, or a pair of non-adjacent angles formed by 2 intersecting lines. Remember on yours, you're just underlining where I'm writing in. Okay? So, what do we know about vertical angles? That they are what? Congruent. What does congruent mean? Same or equal. Okay? So, this first example should be simple for us. Is x and 72, are those 2 vertical angles? Yes, because they are located across from each other. So, what do I know about the measure of x? It is equal to 72. Now, is it possible for me to find this angle here? How? Taya? Did you not say yeah?
Yeah, I did.
Somebody over there said it. Yeah. Okay. We know they form a straight line, so couldn't I subtract 180 and 72? What would I get? 108, right? Okay. All right, example 2 says angle ABC and DBE are vertical angles find the measure of the two angles. Okay, so first let's just draw a picture. Now, what point do those two angles have in common? Well, I have ABC and DBE. What point do they share? B. So where would that be located? Right in the middle. Okay? So then you could put, it doesn't matter which way you choose to do that. I'm just going to do ABC on the left side, and then I'll put DBE on the right side. Okay? So on that left angle, ABC, what does it tell us it is equal to? 7x minus 8. And what about on the right side, DBE? Okay. So if I have 7x minus 8 and 5x plus 10, how could I solve first for x? True, I do want to write an equation. What would my equation be? Perfect. Right? Because I know vertical angles are congruent, so I can just set the two equal to each other and solve. What's my first step to solve this equation? Move x. You're not wrong, Dylan. We always want to move x first. Are you my one that said that last week too? Yep. Okay, so I get 2x minus 8 is equal to 10. Now, like Dylan always says, move 8. Okay, so we get 2x is equal to 18. What's my last step? Divide both sides by 2. We get x is equal to 9. Now, 9's not my answer because it asks for the measure of ABC. So I have to go plug that back in. Okay, I'm trying to look and see who has a calculator. Miguel, do 7 times 9 minus 8. Who else has one? Dylan, do 5 times 9 plus 10. It's on your desk. What is that?
Oh, that's
your
very
phone.
advanced calculator.
You should probably put that away before it belongs to me.
No, yeah, I'm not on.
Okay, Miguel, what'd you get? Ty, did you do the other one? Now, shouldn't that make sense to us that they're both 55? Yeah, because they're vertical angles, so they should be equal. Okay? All right, questions on that? Feel okay with it? Anybody still writing this down? All right. Okay, complementary angles. Now, we should already know about this one. What do we know about complementary angles? They are 90 degrees, right? Where can we tell that at? Yeah, what Ty's been waiting for all day. Okay.
Actually, Talon yelled that out, and then I said it, and then you got on to me for it. Or not got on to me, but you told me.
I did not get on to you.
Or you told me it was wrong, and then Talon looked at me and was like, duh.
Do you want me to tell you it's right when it's not?
That's besides the point.
All right, so complementary angles. Okay, so complementary angles are just two angles with a sum of what?
90 degrees.
90 degrees. Okay, now when it says can be adjacent or non-adjacent, what does that mean? Well, we've already talked about what adjacent means. What does adjacent mean? Ooh, come on. We've talked about this 2 days in a row now. Yeah, they share a common side. So the example that you see, is that adjacent or non-adjacent?
Is 15 and x the same?
Those two angles are adjacent, right? What does adjacent mean? We have an example somewhere else in our notes already. No.
I mean, they have different.
They share a side. Two adjacent angles with a who's non-common. Well, sorry, who share a common side. Okay? What's the common side shared here? This. Okay? Does everyone agree with that? So adjacent means they share a side. What does non-adjacent mean? They don't share a side. So it's possible you have two angles that are still complementary, that add to equal 90, but they just may not share a side. Okay? Now, again, how would I set up my equation to solve this for x? X plus 15 or 15 plus x equal to 90. Okay? My only step here to solve is to subtract 15 from both sides, and we get x is equal to 75 degrees. Now, I'm going to show you an example on the second one of what non-adjacent would look like. So notice it says angle LMN and PQR are complementary. Now, when you see those 3 points on each angle, do they have any points in common? No. So here's what that might look like. So you have okay. So notice I have two angles given here, LMN and PQR. These would be non-adjacent. Why? They don't share a side. Okay. Does it tell me what the value is for LMN? Yes. What is it? Okay. 4x minus 2. PQR. Does it tell me what the value is for PQR? 9x plus 1. Now, I know that they are what? Complementary. Okay? So, is it possible for me to solve first for the value of x? Yes, by doing what with those two angles? True, but what do I need to do with them? Complementary angles are two angles that add, subtract, multiply, or divide to equal 90. Add. So what do I need to do with those two angles? Add them together. So I have 4x minus 2 plus 9x plus 1 is equal to 90. Okay? Jordy, can you tell me what I do first?
Why would it be equal to?
Huh? Because that word I underlined, complementary, what does that mean? 90, right? Do what, Jordy? Not quite. Add 9 and 4, right? They're already on the same side. So that would give me 13. What else? Or 13x. What else can you add together? What's negative 2 plus 1? Negative 1 is correct. Yep. Okay. All right. And then we just solve. We add 1 to both sides. We get 13x is equal to 91. Last step is to do what? Divide by 13. And we get x is equal to 7. Now, again, is 7 my answer? No. I have to go back and plug those in. So I need somebody to do 4 times 7 minus 2. Somebody else, 9 times 7 plus 1. $26. My other one would be 64. Okay, just for time's sake, we're just going to keep rolling. So, supplementary, similar to complementary, right? Except it's two angles with a sum of what? 180. Now, didn't we already do something similar to this?
Yeah.
What was it? Linear pair, right? But the difference is linear pair has to be what? Adjacent. Do supplementaries have to be adjacent? No. They can be non-adjacent, which is what is shown here. Okay? Now, does it tell you that A and B are supplementary? It doesn't? Yes, it does. So we can add those together and set it equal to 180. Okay, these are simple for us. It's one step to our answer. All we have to do is subtract. Okay, now, last one I want us to pay attention to because this type of problem usually trips people up, okay? It says the measure of the supplement, what should that tell you right there our total is? 180, okay? So we're gonna add the two angles together. So the measure of the supplement of an angle is 36 less than the measure of the angle. Now, do we know what the first angle is at all? No, so if we don't know an angle, we're just gonna call it what? X. So out to the side, I'm going to put angle 1 equals x. Now, I underline the second part. Angle 2 is 36 less than the measure of the other angle. So how can I show that? What minus 36? What's the first angle? There we go. More often than not, on problems like this, I will have people write just x minus 36 equals 180, but that doesn't show the two separate angles. So that's why I would say write them out to the side. Okay, now we can add them together and solve for x, or for the measure of each angle. Okay, so we get 2x minus 36 is equal to 180. We're going to add 36 on both sides. We get 2x is equal to 216, which means x is equal to 108. Now, is that one of my answers, 108? Yes, because my first angle was just what? Just x. So how can I find the measure of the second angle? Plug it in. So 108 minus 36, and I get 72. Okay, questions on that? Okay, listen. I'm going to go over one thing from that other paper that I gave you, and I'm going to let you work on some by yourself, and we'll probably talk about it tomorrow, okay? So, switch to that second paper. Ty, will you read those directions, please?
Sure. Each of the problem below must solve a
Listen.
circle the mistake in the work / answer. Explain what the mistake is. Find the correct.
Okay, so on number 1, the first thing it wants us to do is in the work, circle where they went wrong, okay? And then out to the side, we're going to explain and solve for the correct answer. Okay, so can anyone tell me on number 1 where the mistake has happened? So the first thing I would do is look here. What should you do with those two things? What do I know? What are these two called, first of all? We just went over this. Vertical angles. And what do we know about vertical angles? They're the same. Did they show that in their work? What did they do? Yeah, they added them and set it equal to 180. So isn't that where our error occurred in the way they set it up? Okay. So the two angles should equal each other. So if I did that, how would I find the correct answer? How should it actually have been set up? Well, what did we just say? We just wrote out what we should have done.
They have to do
we should have set them what? We just wrote it out. Equal to each other. So what should I write down to solve? Whew. There we go. Come on. We're going to get there eventually. Yeah. If they should be equal to each other because they're congruent, then set them equal to each other. And then what's the only thing you have to do to solve? Divide both sides by 5. We get x is equal to 20. Okay? I'll do one more with you because I have time. All right, number 2. Find the value of x. So they said 3x plus 39 is equal to 180. Did they set that up correct? No. What's the only thing they did wrong? It should have been equal to 90. Okay? All right, so everything else was the same, 3x plus 39. We just wanted it equal to 90. So if they solved the same way, was subtracting 39 correct? Yes. So we would get 3x is equal to 51. Divide both sides by 3. X is equal to 17. Okay, listen, all you have to do is tomorrow when we come to class, we're going over those last 3 together. Okay? So, make sure you circle your mistake, tell me a little bit about what it was, solve for the correct answer.
Sir. Sir. Sir.
Pardon this interruption. Students, please check your student email. You have received an email from the RTI scheduler.
All students.
Open it and it will tell you where you are going for Eagle Time. If you did not receive an email, you will report to the Eagle Time class you have been going to. Thank you. Also, these students need to come to the office.
So everyone check your email to see if you have to go somewhere else.
Vision Post, Riddick Edgar, Luke Bruner,
If you don't have time to glue that in today, you can glue that tomorrow when we come to class.
Haley
We'll have
Hall,
time.
Braylee Grammer, Logan Bond. Thank you.
Yeah, good talk.
What?
I said, can I get that?
Oh,
My bad.
Just saying no.
Whoa, Todd.